Hi guys, how's everyone? So we made it to the weekend after this quite intense beginning of the week. The new moon in Cancer definitely hit us. And my belief is that during the 777 portal that was on 7th of July, there were all these new energies streaming in. And then obviously we had this activation during the Cancer new moon, the reactivation of the eclipse season. And with all these new energies streaming in, it's a lot to take in. So, I mean, I don't know how it was for you guys. I can just share my experience, but it's been a pretty intense week. It's been pretty, like, it seems like the body is trying to adjust to some new energies that we consciously don't even know what's going on, but we can feel that there is some shift, there is some change, and there is a lot going on. We can't put our finger on. It's like, what the hell exactly is going on, and why am I feeling this weird way that, like something is just off. But now the moon is gaining light because it's the first crescent, what was it? So it was the new moon, so this is a waxing crescent, so the Taurus flavor. So now we are starting to gain the light, especially people that have strong Cancer placements or are very strongly influenced by moon, like myself. I have moon in Cancer. So now we are starting to feel a little bit more ourselves, like, okay, well, the light is shining on our moon, so now we can feel some more sense of ourselves, like who we actually are, even though we know that we are stripping the old layers of who we were and creating a new definitions of who we are, because the person that we were is not necessarily who we want to be going forward. And in order to create a new reality, we need new personality. So this is what's happening. But I just wanted to say, because today is the Saturday, I know I made a video at the middle of this week where I was completely mixing the days, and I was actually talking about tomorrow, but I was talking about today, which is Saturday, but when I was recording it was actually Wednesday, which just shows you how completely off I am this week, like completely just where are we? What is this reality here? So anyway, so today, Saturday, July 22nd, so 2-2, today is the day. Today is the day when, well, for most of us, for some of you in the US, it happened just before midnight last night, but today is the day when Sun is opposing Pluto exactly. And right after, Sun will square the nodes, and the resolution in this case from the point of Sun is the North Node ruled by Mars. Mars currently being in Virgo, so it's all about learning and readjusting, discerning. And then Mercury trine, is going to trine today Chiron. Well, depending where you are in the world again, it might have already happened for you. By the time you watch this video, for sure it would have happened. So this is all interesting aspects going on there, pointing us in this new direction. Chiron is in Aries, resolution North Node in Aries, ruler is the Mars, right? And this is something that we already talked about in my previous video. I'm just going to bring the, pick up where I left off in my past video. And then for some of you guys across the Atlantic, Sun is shifting sign today. So happy birthday again to all the Leos. So Sun for you guys is moving into the sign of Leo tonight. For us here in Europe, it's going to happen in early morning tomorrow. And just before that happens, Venus will station retrograde. So Venus will remain retrograde until September 4th, and then Venus will go direct, but she will remain in the sign of Leo until October actually. And actually, why is this all important? I have few aspects that I want to bring to everybody's attention. Why I feel this, Venus retrograde is very important, because Venus is the rule of the South Node, and Pluto is still squaring the nodes where the resolution is the South Node. So Venus is important because it's giving us the information about what are we letting go of, who we are no longer, what is still keeping us feel stuck and disempowered. So Venus now going retrograde in the sign of Leo is going to help us understand, like, that which we thought was our sense of purpose and destiny was attached to the old personality. So now that we are changing and becoming a new version of ourselves, perhaps this sense of purpose and destiny is shifting with us. So this is what Venus is going to help us to understand, because the one thing that I forgot to mention in my previous long video on YouTube was that Venus, during the new moon in Cancer, Venus was making in conjunction to both Neptune and Pluto. And the exact in conjunction between Venus and Neptune already happened just before, the day before. And Venus will in conjunct Neptune 2 more times, because now she's going to go retrograde, she's going to hit Neptune again, exact, even though this is all happening already. And then she's going to in conjunct Neptune again just before she will end her stay in the sign of Leo, because she will be going forward sooner than Neptune. Neptune is still retrograde. So Anyway, guys, so this is something that we can't see. This is the blind spot. Venus did not make the exact inconjunction to Pluto because Pluto is still on 29 degrees, but she will do so again just before she moves into the sign of Virgo in October. So Venus is kind of like, I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I knew what was my purpose and what mattered to me. And now we had this new moon in Cancer where all these new energies are streaming through. Obviously, the energies from the 7-7 portal now available. The Cancer made it possible for us to fully tap into it because Cancer is our intuition, is our connection to the waters of our body, which is everything, because the whole world, like our planet, is what, 70% water. Our body is 70% water, and Cancer moves the water, you know, the ebbs and flows, the tides, highs and tides, right? So Cancer has a lot of power. Moon has a lot of power. So anyway, so during this new moon on Monday that we are all very well aware of because we had a whole week of experiencing these energies that got activated. And I mean, things are still unclear because, you know, like it's still early days. The nodes only just move into the sign of Aries, but there were this in conjunction, and Venus is very well aware of it. And Venus is the resolution. Venus is giving information to the resolution node from Pluto's point of view, and Pluto is that which we are evolving, which we are, like in this case, what are we letting go of that we had an opportunity to recognize during Pluto's transit through the sign of Capricorn since 2008, and Pluto is on this 29 degrees of Capricorn retrograde. Like, okay, what is this last push that we have to let go of with regards to what we discovered about ourselves in the last 15 years? And also from the perspective of the nodes, even more than that, it's 19 years. It's 2004 to 2006. That's when the nodes were last time. Well, the North Node was last time in the sign of Aries, because of course then they had the nodal reversal nine years later. So okay, so what we are really building up here is talking about this Venus and Chiron retrograde, because tomorrow, Sunday 23rd, and this is for most of us, even for you guys in the US, Chiron is going to station retrograde on Sunday 23rd. However, just because before that happens, so we have Venus station in retrograde, Sun moving into the sign of Leo, so the Leo season is officially kicking in tonight, whether it's before midnight or after midnight, and then we have the first square between Pluto and nodes. In this case, it will be North Node square in Pluto. So this will be the first square of the three. There will be three exact squares. The first one is tomorrow on Sunday, July 23rd. Second one will be on July 25th. And the third one will be on July 28th. So there will be three exact squares between Pluto and the nodes. And the resolution is the South Node. So this is why Venus is so important, because in order for us to move into this North Node, we have to resolve the Pluto, because Pluto is the skip step, and Pluto is gathering the information from the South Node that is gathering information from Venus, because Venus is the ruler of the South Node as of Monday. She was the ruler of the North Node before, and she was helping us to learn about ourselves, because Venus rules both Taurus and Libra, and Taurus is you and Libra is the other. Libra is the relationship towards the other people. Taurus is the relationship towards yourself. So we have here this first square taking place tomorrow morning, and then funnily enough, Moon will move into the sign of Libra, and then we have the Chiron station in retrograde. So as of tomorrow, both Venus and Chiron will join the retrogradia we have already building up. We have Pluto in retrograde, Saturn in retrograde, Neptune in retrograde. As of this weekend, we'll have Venus in retrograde, Chiron in retrograde. Next month, that is August, we're going to have Mercury going retrograde, Uranus going retrograde. And then in September, exactly on the same day, and this is what I want to build up on, and this is what I want to bring to everybody's attention, Jupiter is going to station retrograde right after Venus station direct. And then after that, Mercury is going to station direct, because we know Mercury doesn't stay retrograde for very long. So by September, we would have had all the planets in retrograde apart from Mars, because Mars is the ruler of North Node. So Mars has a lot of work to do. He's like, I don't have time to go retrograde right now. Like, hello, I have all this discernment to do, with Virgo. I need to gather all this information and discern what is usable still, right? So actually, Mercury will be helping, with that, because Mercury will station retrograde while while Mars is still ruled by Mercury, because Mars is currently in the sign of Virgo. Mars will not move into the sign of Libra until August 27th. So that's, I believe, just before Uranus stations retrograde. So anyway, so let's build up on this, what we have shaping up here. So there is this very interesting relationship we have going on between Venus and Jupiter. And just to again remind everyone, Jupiter currently is in the sign of Taurus. So he is actually being ruled by Venus. So Jupiter, now that Venus was the ruler of the North Node for the past 18 months until Monday this week, Venus was helping us to understand ourselves, our sense of values, needs, all these kind of things. But now Venus is like confused. She's like, well, I have to go retrograde because there was this mistaken identity, this version of myself I identify myself strongly with. But now with this new moon in Cancer and all these new energies with the 7-7 portal streaming in, I am not sure if this is who I am. I'm not sure if this is what I want to continue being in order to feel that I can actually fulfill this sense of purpose. Like, do I actually feel that I have what it takes? Because, you know, Mars is now the ruler of the North Node and saying, well, I'm in Virgo, so we have to discern. We need to gather information. We need to learn and adjust, and we need to master it. We need to become competent, right? So now Venus, let's just talk about Venus and Jupiter. Venus already made the first square to Jupiter because Venus is in Leo and Jupiter is in Taurus. It is sign ruled by Venus. However, there is a square, natural square between Taurus and Leo, because it's like, okay, you know, this is what I got, and Leo is like, okay, let's go and you know, like do this sense of purpose and destiny. But we haven't gone through Virgo yet, so we don't have the experience. We have the tools, we have the passion, we have the desire, but we don't have the experience. There is no practice. So that's why there is a little bit of a square going on there. So anyway, so the first square, so this is important. Where are my notes? Because there is a lot of stuff happening. So the first square between Venus and Jupiter happened on 11th of June. And why is this day important? This day is very important because on this day, Pluto retrograded back into the sign of Capricorn. So this was the day when Pluto shifted from the sign of Aquarius. We had the 3 months of, well, not even, just under 3 months. It was like 2.5 months, 2 months and 3 weeks. We had the opportunity to experience what Pluto in Aquarius is about. Well, just a tiny nudge, like not really much of an idea, but you know, there was this new energy streaming through. Pluto in Aquarius, it's a theme of 20 years, so you know, there was a little bit of a taster. So on the day when Pluto moved into the sign of Capricorn, retrograded back into the sign of Capricorn, and Mercury moved into the sign of Gemini, where Mercury is in rulership. And just before this took place, before, you know, all this sign shift happened, there was a trine. There was a trine between Mercury and Pluto. So this is very important because we know this year the theme is that there is a lot of gathering new information and there is a need for changing of perspective. Seeing things from all these different angles, and also understanding that we are multidimensional beings. So we were never born to stay the same person, live in the same place, with the same people. Like for some people, that perhaps is the choice that they had made on a soul level. That's what they needed to experience. But for a lot of people, they need more. They need more stimulation. They go through all different things. They try all different kind of occupations and passions and hobbies and partners and whatever, because we learn. Everything is a learning experience. This is a school of life. This human experience on planet Earth is a school of life. It's about gathering information to actually have the physical experience, because in a spirit form we know everything. We are tapped into the source. We are tapped into the source here as well, but there is too much distraction, and the ego is kind of like, look at this, this is more important. And so anyway, so that's why we come here, to have a physical experience through our senses, from this amazing thing called human body that we have such a conflicted relationship with, that is actually allowing us to perceive this reality through our 5 senses, Taurus, right? So we had this first square between Venus and Jupiter on a day when Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn, and Mercury like high-fived Pluto with the trine and said, okay, now let's go to Gemini and let's gather new information, okay? And Mercury currently is the ruler of Mars, that is a ruler of North Node. So breadcrumbs, you know, universe is pointing us in certain direction here. Second square between Venus and Jupiter will take place on August 22nd, and it's very interesting because, so why is this important, these 3 squares? Because once again, Venus is the ruler of Jupiter. Jupiter is in Taurus, where Venus has been, and where the North Node has been, and Venus was the ruler. And currently, Venus is the ruler of the South Node. So now that we learn about ourselves, hopefully, in the past 18 months, now Venus is gathering information. Okay, how does this now change my stand in a society? How does this change my attitude towards the other, and perhaps wanting to put boundaries because maybe I want to be treated in a different way? Because I always compare it to my clients that imagine that the price ticket, the label, the price label of certain product gone higher because, for example, you have your iPhone and there is always new version, like every year there is a new version of iPhone, and usually every next version is more expensive because it's upgraded, because they put some new skill, there is something better about it, right? That's why there is this FOMO that everybody wants new iPhone, right? Because it's got all these new skills, all these new qualities that it didn't have before. And imagine this is you as a human. You're going through life and you got there all this information, all these school tools, all these skills, also all this deeper awareness of who you are actually. Like, you are not just this one name, one occupation, title. That is not who you are. Those are just the labels of the ego, but you are much more than that. We are multidimensional being having a human experience, and the more you are on this planet, especially once you go through the Pluto square, Neptune square, and Uranus opposition between our late 30s, early 40s, and mid 40s, that's usually when it's taking place, called as midlife crisis. So throughout the life, we starting to kind of understand the whole big picture a little bit more, right? So now that Venus has gone through the sign of Taurus, and North Node was through the sign of Taurus, and Venus was the rule of North Node, we had the opportunity to actually understand that my price has risen. Me as a, not product exactly, that's not the right wording, but as an asset, my price has risen. Like, this stock is like in the stock market, like, it's worth much more money now. Okay, so your label has, like, the price ticket has risen, the price is much more, like, and that means that now, in order for someone to have my energy, there is something has to shift. Something has to shift, because now I understand that I'm actually worthy, that I matter, that what I need matter, my needs matter, my needs also need to be met just like everybody else's. So now Venus, going through being the ruler of the South Node, now she's saying, okay, now you have this understanding that your value has risen because you are more aware of yourself, because North Node was going through Taurus, you are more aware of yourself. Now, how is this going to influence your relationships? How is this going to change? Because if people are used to you maybe putting yourself down, people pleasing, and all these things that are quite, well, usually quite there, especially they are familiar, the Pluto Libra generation is familiar with that quite a bit, and also us, Pluto in Scorpio at the early degrees, because usually our house cusp is ruled by Libra, where Pluto resides. So we also have that, but generally, a lot of people have an experience at some point in their life where they had to sacrifice their needs for the other, because that's what we were being told, that put yourself last, put other people first. That's what the good person does, and it got us to the point in our human evolution where we are right now. There is a lot of unhappy people with suppressed needs, a lot of people who don't even know who they are and what they want. So now, while North Node was going through the sign of Taurus for the past 18 months, Venus had the opportunity to help us to understand that actually you matter. You are worthy, you are the asset, and your price has risen so much because you've experienced so much, you've learned so much, you have all these skills that you didn't have when you were 5 years old, right? So now Venus is passing on the information to the South Node, she's the ruler of, and the South Node is passing the information to Pluto, because Pluto is retrograde Capricorn, finishing his stint of past 15 years, since 2008, 2009, where Pluto, fully moved into the sign of Capricorn. Sorry, it's still early in the morning. I still haven't even had my breakfast, so I'm mumbling my words. But when I get inspired, I just want to get it out there before I lose my mojo. So anyway, so this is what's happening. Venus is passing on information to South Node. South Node is passing on information to Pluto, because Pluto is squaring the nodes. Pluto is the skip step, saying you cannot go from A to B unless you resolve this. This is in your way, So imagine you driving and there is something on the road, and you cannot go past it. You have have to remove that obstacle, right? Whatever it is. Imagine there is a cow in the middle of the road. What you gonna do? You're gonna hit it? No, you have to like remove it. You have to like wait until it's passed. So this is the skip step. You have to do something with it because it's there. It's obstructing your view. It's obstructing your path of the evolution, right? So now North Node is in Aries, which is saying, okay, we're going in this new direction. There is all these opportunities, all this inspiration, this instinctual desire to go and fulfill my desires. Like, you know, there is this trine between Leo and Aries. Like, there's all this fire, all this inspiration, all this stamina. Like, oh, I have this desire, but I don't know why I can't get to it because there is a restriction. There is Pluto in Capricorn saying that, hey, hello, there is a skip step. I'm showing you is the Libra. It's our conditioning by the society, by the other. Where do we externalize our power? So this is what Venus is doing right now. She's helping us to understand what is it? What is this thing that is affecting us, that is regarding our relationship to someone else. This can be your husband, this could be your friends, this could be just anyone, just the other, whoever is the other, your boss, you know, whatever it is, just the other person that is not you. So there is something that needs adjusting, because if we want to go and be independent and be, authentic and in charge of our lives and make decisions, then there's something has to be corrected, right? So this Jupiter that is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the ruler of the South Node, we can see how everything is connected here, right? I'm just trying to make it understandable. I hope people can understand what I'm trying to explain here. So Jupiter is very important because Jupiter is also passing information to Venus. Like, they all influencing each other because Venus is the ruler of Jupiter, Jupiter being in the sign of Taurus. And the second square is going to take place on the 22nd of August. And interestingly, at this time, Mars is still in a sign of Virgo, and Mars obviously is the ruler of North Node. So we're watching Mars very closely because Mars is giving us information about where we're heading, what is the evolutionary potential. So on 16th of August, Mars is going to trine Uranus. So Uranus is all about us breaking free into our sovereignty, so we can be who we are, right? Because Taurus, who you are. And on the same day, we have a new moon in Leo. So isn't this interesting? New moon in Leo. Venus is in Leo. She is going retrograde, which is saying, I'm not quite sure if this is still my purpose. Is this still what would make me happy? Because I'm becoming this new person, so I don't quite know. You know, so we have a new moon in Leo. And as I keep continuing to mention, this year, since we had double new moon in Aries, everything got shifted. Usually in a month, we would have new moon first and then full moon, which would be like a culmination, in a sense, integration of the 6 months theme that was like, for example, in this case, new moon in Leo. So full moon in Aquarius would normally happen 2 weeks later. However, this year everything is upside down because we have the full moon first, which is saying you have to finish the past first before you can move into the new, right? So the culmination has to happen before the new beginning can happen. So we have a new moon in Leo during the time while Venus is retrograde in Leo. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a conjunction. I haven't had a look at the chart of the new moon in Leo. I just know that on this day, Mars is trining Uranus, which is very good because Mars is the ruler of the North Node, is making a very positive aspect to Uranus. So obviously, during the transit of Mars through Virgo, Mars accumulating information that, you know, Uranus is happy about. Like, yes, this is how we get in there. You know, now you get it. You know what needs to change. But on that day, exactly on that day, Mars is actually, on the same day, Mars is opposing Neptune. Yeah, so there is still something that needs to be let go of. So Mars accumulated information, high-fived Uranus, said like, okay, this is fantastic, you know, this is what needs to change, you know, in order for us to break free. And then it's opposing Neptune, which is saying, okay, well, this is what we need to let go of. So it's like, you need to integrate this, you know, you need to do something about this. And few days after, just before Mars moves into the sign of Libra on 27th, few days, you know, like I think it's about 2 days after, it's 2 days after this, so it's on the 25th, I think, 25th, Mars is going to trine Pluto. So that's going to happen just before Mars moves into the sun. Don't quote me on a day. I just know that how it's going to go is Mars trine Uranus on the day of the new moon in new moon in Leo ruled by Sun, then Mars is going to oppose Neptune exactly on a day when Venus will make the second square to Jupiter. So this is again like Mars is saying something needs to be dissolved, and Venus at the same time, because Venus rules the south node, something that we need to let go of. Venus is squaring Jupiter, so Venus is saying, hey, this is something that you have to adjust with regards to how you think about yourself, what you believe about yourself and your skills and your ability to take care of yourself. So this is all connected. In order to go in a new direction, there is something we need to let go of, there is something we need to adjust, there is something we need to learn, and also we need to shift our perception, our perception of ourselves, because this year, while Jupiter is in a sign of Taurus, we are our self-study. You are your self-study. Jupiter is teaching you about you in order to help you to expand. So it goes, okay, well, is this still working for us? Is this information making us to expand, or is it actually making us to constrict, that we actually getting smaller, not bigger? And Jupiter in Taurus is like, we want to get bigger, grandiose, So there will be the second square between Venus retrograde in Leo. Again, I don't know if this is my sense of purpose and destiny, because before I believed this about myself, now I believe something different. So she's saying to Jupiter, hey, listen, we need to start thinking about ourselves in a different way. We need to believe in ourselves in order to do all these things, because, it's all good to have dreams and aspirations, but if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe you can do it, nobody else will believe it. You have to believe in yourself. So that's why there are these squares. And then the third square will happen on the 17th of September. And by this point, Venus will go direct again. And this is very interesting because 2 days, so at the same time, the same what Mars was doing Sun will be doing. So Sun will trine Uranus, then Sun will oppose Neptune, and Sun will trine Pluto just before Sun will move into the sign of Libra. So this is crazy, So we have literally Venus squaring Jupiter, first time on the day when Pluto retrogrades to Capricorn, Mercury moves into Gemini. Second time Venus is squaring Jupiter when Mars is making all these aspects, two positive aspects to Uranus breaking free, and Pluto, like, oh yeah, this is what we're working on, this is what I've been talking about, evolution, we're breaking free from the outdated old structures, and opposition to Neptune, like, hey, but something needs to be integrated, something needs to be culminated, something needs to be healed and dissolved, right? And then Sun is doing exactly the same thing. Sun will be shining the light onto Virgo. So it will be even more potent, more powerful. Exactly the same thing is happening, but through the point of Sun. So it's like Sun is illuminating it. Mars went through the same territory. Mars was like, okay, I need to do this, and then Sun is illuminating it. Like, okay, I understand why now, because now Sun is shining its light onto it. Now I get it. Now I understand. So, as I mentioned before, Venus is stationing direct on the same day as Jupiter stationing in retrograde. And isn't this interesting? Again, literally it's on the same day, like few hours apart. So Venus now gathered the information. They had a communication with Jupiter. And then actually Jupiter now, throughout this transit, Jupiter gathered all this information through all these squares. And now it's saying, okay, now I need to go backward and I need to think about it. I really need to do something about this. I really need to shift this perception of reality that I was adopting with regards to myself and my value and my skill set and all that. And now all this needs to change. But in order for me to go forward, I first need to go back to find the origin of why did I believe this? Why was I so attached to this belief system that actually is not serving me anymore? So Jupiter will have to go retrograde, and Jupiter actually will be retrograde until December 31st. So literally Jupiter will stop retrograding on the last day of the year. So so this is how important this is, literally what's going on here. And yeah, so, okay, I don't want to put too much information in here. We're already half an hour in, so I wanted to talk a little bit about Mars, because obviously Mars is the ruler of, of the North Node. So Mars, it will, well, as soon as it will move into the sign of Libra, it will be in the same sign that the South Node resides, and Mars will actually conjunct the South Node. So Mars was gathering all this information through the Virgo, and Mars will conjunct South Node. South Node is what we're letting go of on October 4th. So this will be very interesting. And then on a 9th of October, Sun will oppose Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. So does it make sense? Sun will oppose Capricorn from Libra? No, it will square. It will square Pluto on the 10th. Yeah, because between Libra and Capricorn there is a square. So yeah, Mars will square Pluto. And this is just before the eclipse starts. So we will have the first eclipse in the sign of Libra on October 14th. So all this is happening just before. So Mars will conjunct the South Node 10 days before the eclipse. So this is really important. So anyway, let's move on to Chiron. So as I mentioned, on the same day, which is tomorrow, we'll have the square to the nodes, first square, resolution South Node. So we know Venus is working very hard on this gathering information with regards to the past, and how we need to adjust our relationship to other people now. And at the same time, we'll have Chiron going retrograde. And Chiron is ruled by Mars. And Mars is this evolutionary potential at the moment because Mars is ruling the North Node. So again, this is so crazy because Chiron will go retrograde on August 23rd and it will remain retrograde until December 27th. And you know what's happening on December 27th is the full moon in Cancer. I think I was getting that confused as well. 26, 27, but it's 27th of December. But again, it depends where you are in the world. For you, Aussies is probably on a 26. No, it will be 28. 26 is probably going to be in the US. I don't have the exact time here. But for me here in Europe, okay, at the moment, the full moon in Cancer is happening on December 27th. And this is exactly the day where Chiron will station direct again. So this is again crazy because again we see breadcrumbs how everything is happening at the same time. Now we had a new moon in Cancer at the end of the same week. Venus station retrograde and goes retrograde. Chiron station retrogrades and go retrograde. Venus is associated with South Node. Chiron is ruled by the ruler of the North Node. Everything is happening at the same time for us. Like literally, it's crazy. And then we have... So between Venus and Chiron, we had 3 trines. So we had between Venus and Jupiter, and Venus is the ruler of Jupiter, we had 3 squares because of this retrograde thing going on. And now between Venus and Chiron, we are having 3 trines. So the first trine between Venus and Chiron have been on 29th of June. Then the second trine between Venus and Chiron, and at this time, both Venus and Chiron, so the first time they were both direct, now they both retrograde, Venus and Chiron both retrograde, at the same, on this day, actually this will happen on August 14th. On August 14th. And then, and as I mentioned, on August 16th, we will have the new moon in Leo. So this trine, this is a positive harmonious aspect. This trine will be still active during the new moon in Leo when it will be still active because it's only 2 days after Venus will trine Chiron, and they are both retrograde. So both of them are re-evaluating because Chiron is in Aries. It has been in Aries since 2018, 2019, and it will remain there until 2026, 2027, because Chiron goes retrograde also for a long time, just like all these, planets that are further away from Sun. So the second square will happen on September 23rd. And that's very interesting because I believe that that's about the time that Sun is actually moving into the sign of Libra. That's what I mean. Everything is happening at the same time. So the third time they will have a square. Venus will be already in direct, but Chiron will still be retrograde. So there is still more that Chiron need to find out because once again, as I mentioned in my previous video, Chiron in Aries is trying to help us to understand that wounding is in a fact that we are afraid to go in this new direction, to try something different because in some cases, it's the loyalty to our, previous generation, which could be conscious or subconscious. In some cases, it's just the fear because that's how we were programmed that, hey, don't step out of the line because it's scary, it's better for you to do what is safe and secure and, what we feel that it's familiar, right? So Chiron in Aries is actually helping us to understand that, no, we actually need to go in a new direction because the way that the world has been constructed, it doesn't work. It makes most people feel enslaved and disempowered, and they actually unhappy because they feel they have no choice. Their needs are not being met and all this kind of stuff. So Chiron going through the sign of Aries for all this time is actually trying to help us to break free. But we need to actually to see where the wounding comes from and why is it there. And Chiron in retrograde might give us the opportunity to maybe look at the old wounds, maybe old triggers will come to the surface, and all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff will be taking place when Chiron is retrograde. So the third trine, once again, it will happen on September 23rd. Venus will be direct, Chiron will be still retrograde, and I have here that on the next day, Mars, that is in Libra at that time, because Mars is moving into the sign of Libra on August 27th, Mars will oppose Chiron. So isn't this interesting? Venus, the ruler of the South Node, now has gathered the information. Now she is pretty sure, like, okay, now I know what I want because I took into consideration these aspects that I didn't before. Chiron is still going retrograde. Chiron is still selling, well, you know, you might know that, but there is still insecurity. So people are still afraid to, you know, face the, not say face the unknown, but step into the unknown because it's scary, because it's frightening. So on the next day, Mars, the ruler of Chiron and the ruler of the North Node, will oppose Chiron because the Mars will be in Libra. By when is Mars? By that point, Mars will have conjuncted South Node. So Mars is in a new phase with the South Node, so to speak, and Mars is saying like, okay, I know exactly what needs to be done in order for me to have a different sort of relationship, or for me to feel empowered in my relationship where maybe I am not sacrificing anymore. Maybe I'm putting stronger boundaries. And that will actually, this point of integration will then help me to feel confident to move into that new direction, because I will not be dependent on others for validation or for, you know, to having a permission or approval to actually do what I feel is the right thing for me. Because if I do what's right thing for me and I make myself happy, then I can be there for other people. Otherwise, I can't, because I'm angry and resentful and frustrated. And, you know, I don't want to feel that way anymore. So, yeah, so there will be the third heat will happen one day before the opposition between Mars, the ruler of Chiron, and Chiron retrograde. And yeah, like I said, the sun will be moving into the sign of Libra about the same time. I don't know exactly if it's, let me check, if it's on the 22nd or 23rd of September. I'll just check in the ephemeris real quick, because I don't want to talk porkies here. So sun is moving, yes, sun is moving into the Libra on 23rd. So it's all happening at the same time. All happening at the same time. So sun will obviously conjunct the South Node, not very far after that. So 23rd, so sun will conjunct, is not here. Okay, but it's going to happen like soon after. Sun will move into the sign of Libra. So by that point, the South Node will have progressed to like early 20 degrees. So yeah, sun will be conjuncting the South Node, actually probably not far away from, well, obviously, because it's the eclipse, right? So, okay, let's just quickly check this, because this is something that actually makes me feel curious. So, yeah, sun will conjunct the South Node exactly on the 18th of October, and that's 4 days after the first eclipse, which is happening on the 14th of October, and this will be the first eclipse in Libra. That is actually the first one in a series, because this is still kind of hybrid, because we have the last eclipse in Taurus. So as of next year, the eclipses will be just in Aries and Libra, but in spring we had the first eclipse in Aries, last eclipse is Scorpio, and now in fall we have the first eclipse in Libra and last eclipse in Taurus. So we can think how the baton is literally being passed on. Like, okay, well, now we are integrating the past 18 months and we are starting this new process. But there are all these things that are still holding us back. So yeah, so guys, I know I dished out a lot of information. So practically, just to quickly recap, we have all these things happening this weekend, this exact opposition, right, between Sun and Pluto, the square to the nodes, again becoming exact between Sun and the nodes. The first square from Pluto to the nodes is becoming exact tomorrow, the first one. The second one will be on the 25th, the last one on the 28th, the exact square. But Pluto will be squaring the nodes this entire year, until the end of the year. Resolution always being the South Node from the point of Pluto. From the point of Sun, the resolution is North Node, ruled by Mars, because the North Node is in Aries. Mars is gathering information through Virgo at the moment. Mercury is helping him. Mercury right now is still in the sign of Leo. Mercury will be moving into the sign of Virgo, I believe on the 28th. The day before, Mercury will conjunct Venus. Venus by that point already in retrograde, very interesting. And yeah, Venus is gathering information through her retrograde now in Leo until September. And then she will move direct. She's passing information between, you know, herself and Jupiter, and between herself and Chiron. Between herself and Chiron is a positive, harmonious aspect, because this is where we're going. We are going into the future. Chiron is in Aries, North Node is in Aries, and Venus is making square to Jupiter, because Venus is saying, in order for us to go in this new direction, our belief system has to change. Our belief about ourselves have to change, because we have been putting ourselves down. We felt that we weren't good enough, we weren't competent, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and from the point of Mars is making his own thing. Mars will be opposing Chiron, and as we know, during these squares, Mars will be making a positive aspect Mars is in a sign of Virgo. Mars will be making a positive aspect to Uranus, breaking free, positive aspect to Pluto. So we know that this learning and adjusting is very important. This Virgo archetype, we want to use it in a positive way, not in a way that is making us feel inferior and kind of stuck and not wanting to do anything, because it's like analysis paralysis, that is too much to cope with. Whereas Virgo is really about step-by-step process. It's about learn and adjust. You know, you don't go from A to Z. You find a step-by-step process. And also with the Cancer, it's sidestepping. It's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. So this is the process we are going through. And as you can see, literally the planets are communicating with themselves in a way that is giving us time, because everybody is making aspect to everybody else in a way that supports the energy, that is creating the stronger impact, but it's happening over the time. Nothing is happening in one day, and nothing is going to happen in 1 week. Literally the planets are giving us time, and especially now with the retrogrades, things are slowing down. So yes, there is this desire to take an action, and we are starting to take action on the things that we are learning. But at the same time, we have to go over the things that got us to this point and understand why did we get to this point, and then allow Saturn and Neptune in Pisces to help us heal and integrate it and let it go, so we can create space for these new things to come in. So yeah, this is a tons of information, guys. I know I brought a lot of stuff. Maybe I should have do it over different videos, all this, but I got so excited, like, oh my God, look at all these things are happening at the same time. Venus, Mars, you know, Jupiter, Chiron, everything at the same time. But energy is the same, because the bottom line is we're heading in a new direction. It takes a lot of adjustments. It takes a lot of the shift of the energy, because we were so used to going one way and now we're going in a different way. And it causes a lot of insecurity. It causes a lot of rerouting and, you know, like just readjusting. And this week was a perfect example. At least what I can share from my experiences, I shared at the beginning of the video, because I felt completely out of whack. I felt like, what the hell is happening? You know, things are like little bit, you know, unclear, unstable, like, you know, not quite sure what is going on. So is this all this new energy streaming through to help us, but we need to adjust to it. And in order for us to move into the new direction, there are certain things that need to change, which, you know, as we know, is what we believe about ourselves, and this insecurity to move forward and trust ourselves that we have what we need to do exactly that. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Just to again share with everyone that today, later on, I'm actually meeting again with my bestie Marisa from Growing the Flow. So we'll have another chat, stars and cards, and this time we will going to be diving deeper into the energy of retrograde and what the cards are wanting to tell us about the retrogrades, and what is this all for? Why are we having so many retrogrades at the same time? Because literally by September, almost everybody will be retrograde, apart from Mars. And by that point, Venus and Mercury at some point will go direct as well. So anyway, guys, have a beautiful weekend. I send everybody much love. Take it easy. Just, you know, don't feel bad about how you feel, because this is literally what the energy is doing to, you know, not to us. It's happening for us. But it doesn't mean that it's happening easily, especially with the square that is happening, you know, today and tomorrow between Sun and Pluto in opposition, squaring the nodes from different direction, and resolutions are being different planets, you know, Venus here, Mars there doing their work. So yeah, there is a lot happening in the sky right now, and it will continue to do so, because we are on an accelerated path of evolution. When Pluto squared the nodes, there is no hiding away. Like when other planets square the nodes, you can go like, okay, it's a personal planet, but this is Pluto. So literally we have no choice. We are feeling it. We are doing it, and we're moving forward. So that's it, guys. Much love. I'll speak to you later. Bye.